Everybody, thank you for joining us for Public Sector Change Practitioners webinar today, June 24th. I can't believe it's June already. Time has just been flying already this year. So welcome. The PSCP board is really committed to bringing you guys quality and valuable information to members, providing collaboration opportunities, and then our big thing is ensuring those impacted by change are successful with those changes. The purpose and the direction for our group is we're an agnostic group of change management professionals. So we welcome all walks of life and everyone interested in change management. We learn from others and build our knowledge, and we inspire and lead change throughout the world. Again, we're that common theme, ensuring those impacted by change are successful with that change. Here's our agenda for today. We already did some corny jokes, not a lot of participation, so you guys got stuck with me this morning. We have a PSCP board information, announcements, and then we'll dive into our webinar with a question and answer session at the end and closing. All right, here are our board members. So here's our contact information if you guys need it or need to reach out to any of us. And then we also have a new board member, so we're excited to have her join us today. So Masa joins us as our program support lead. So she's going to be helping us do all of the setting up the presenters, and so we're excited to have her here. She's based in Vancouver, British Columbia, which we're really excited to have some spread and some different people outside of the US. So thank you so much, Masa. But she's led major change initiatives successfully. She holds a master's in electrical engineering and is certified in change management. Just a reminder that we do offer PMI PDUs. So those of you that are interested, we will have a survey at the end of the session that you'll select and fill out a couple of questions. And then we will send that to PMI so that you guys can get your PDUs. All right, we are also looking to get to a 501c3 status for nonprofit organization. So we are asking for your guys' support. We have a goal of $2,500 by the end of the year, and we have about 20% there. So for those of you guys that are interested in contributing, we would really appreciate it. We're looking to do some more exciting stuff this year and into next with that. So. All right, we also like to showcase other things that are going on around the communities. So we have a government innovation showcase coming up in Colorado in November. So you guys can scan the QR code for additional information. Registration might not quite be ready, but it's some information on what is available. Bottom line is that more we engage, collaborate, and encourage each other, the more we will accomplish. So helping each other adjust and adopt to change is why we're here. So anybody interested in participating in PSCP today, you're welcome to join us. If you have not joined as a member, it's no charge. And we also are always looking for speakers. So if you might be interested, we'd love to hear from you. So we'll throw our contact information at the end of today's session for you guys. All right, and I would like to welcome our speaker for today. We have Kelly with us. Kelly is the Division Director of Project Management in the Indiana Office of Technology, where she leads enterprise project delivery, portfolio management, and is a champion for organizational change initiatives across state government. With a passion for people-centered leadership, she's known for modernizing underperforming PMOs, transforming project perceptions, and bridging the gap between execution and adoption. Kelly brings a grounded strategic lens to change management, especially in complex environments where communication, trust, and cross-functional alignment matter most. In addition to her public sector leadership, Kelly also serves as the president of the Project Management Institute Central Indiana chapter, where she champions professional development community engagement, and the future of project management. So I'll hand it over to you, Kelly, and you can take it away.
Thank you so much. Going to share my screen here. Okay, so we did jokes at the beginning. So I asked ChatGPT for a joke about this topic, and here's what it gave me. Leadership said we didn't need change management because they already told people in a meeting last month. Or why do people resist change? Because it shows up with no context, 3 attachments, and a read by EOD deadline. Thanks, Jamie, for the warm introduction. I'm truly honored to be with you all today. I don't know if Elizabeth is on, but thanks, Elizabeth, for the reach out and connecting me to this opportunity. Like Jamie said, my name is Kelly Sandstrom. I am the Division Director of Project Management at the Indiana Office of Technology. I joined the state in early 2024 after a long career in the private sector. This is the 3rd PMO I've been responsible for leading, shaping, building, you name it. And as a project manager by trade, I can say that I truly live and breathe the practice of project management every single day. You also heard that outside of work, I serve as the president of the PMI Central Indiana chapter. So I'll be getting PDUs right along with a lot of you. After managing so many projects and being exposed at the portfolio level, I know I'm in good company today, and there's lots of advocacy in this group as it relates to strong change management. Since I've been at the state, I've spent my time trying to build a more modern, strategic, and human-centered approach to project delivery in government. And today we're going to talk about a very real challenge, how project management and change management often operate in silos and what we can do to fix that. Before we dive in, I wanted to poll the audience to get a better understanding of who we have with us today. So if we can pull that poll up, I want to know if you're in a project management role, a change management role, a role that does both, or one that does neither. So we'll take a minute to do that, and then we'll look at the results. Oh, I see change management in the chat. Okay. Both. Good. Looks like we got a lot of responses kind of all across the board here. Oh, that's awesome. Cool. Cool, yeah. So yeah, very diverse group with us today. I'm guessing you've all worked on projects in your roles and in some capacity or another. Give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat if your role is important to a project, a part of delivering a project, or cares deeply about the project, but you got brought into the project after the kickoff or some point even later. Okay, lots of thumbs up. How about if you've seen communications go out that made things worse for your project? Like it caused more confusion or it was like wrong information. Or maybe you've written your own communications because no one else was available. Has anyone advocated for better change management and had a PM say that's not part of the project? I see a lot of thumbs up. So let's start with a simple truth here. I think we can all agree delivered does not mean adopted. In government, we can roll out, the most technically sound solution, and it will still fail if no one uses it, cares about it, or knows it exists, right? So that's why project success has to be measured not just by those delivery metrics, but by adoption. So there's magic there when PM and CM are aligned. Let's talk about what project success really looks like. On paper, we often define success as, launching a system, hitting a go live date, or delivering something on time and on budget. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. Below the surface is where the real success lies in adoption. So things like culture, mindset, behavior, leadership support. This is where the projects actually succeed or fail, right? And if we don't plan for what's under the surface, we're going to get caught off guard when things start to sink. So project management, change management, they have to work together because we can't rely on delivery alone. It's not the full picture. If you work in government, which I think all of us here, or most of us here do, a lot of these barriers and challenges, slow systems, change fatigue, legacy tools, unclear authority, deeply ingrained habits. Do any of those sound familiar? You can raise your hand or drop it in the chat. And if you've got any to add, you can put those in the chat as well. What's interesting is while these challenges can show up in any organization, the ones I've got listed here, there are some nuances that are very specific to the public sector. For example, we often operate within rigid structures and policies, right? We face scrutiny from multiple stakeholders, elected leaders, that has been new to me in the last couple of years, oversight bodies, and even the public, right? We don't always have the luxury of rapid iteration or high budget fixes. And then change, it's often happening on top of people's day jobs, not in place of them. But the good news is, while the context is complex, the core of these challenges is pretty universal. That's why the gap between project management and change management isn't just a public sector problem, it's a people problem. So it's solvable when we start focusing on alignment, clarity, and connection, no matter what our environment is. So that brings us back to the projects. And here's what I've kind of seen over and over again. The projects don't fail because the solution itself is flawed. They fail because of the people impacted by the change weren't brought along for the journey. And in the government world, we might be talking about like hundreds or thousands of people across different roles and locations. So when your communication doesn't line up appropriately with the timing of the project delivery, people get nervous. I know we all have stories about this. If communication comes out too late, people will feel blindsided, right? When it's unclear, people will fill in the blanks, usually with fear or rumors. I'm probably not the only one going through some of this right now. And when communication is absent, people are simply going to assume the worst, right? Think about it. If you hear there's a new system coming, no one's explained it, like the why or the when or the how, what's your reaction going to be? I use that example because it's actually relevant in my agency right now with a large internal system migration that's happening. I know it's coming. I think everybody knows it's coming, but like no one can articulate what is changing and how it will impact them specifically in their role. So that's not great. I've had people on my team ask me like what is actually being rolled out? Like, when is it being rolled out? How is this going to affect me? I have to take all this training. What does this mean for my role? So in the absence of the clear messaging, uncertainty is going to become the loudest voice in the room. Ownership is another huge gap. In government, we're big on what? On staying in our lane. So if change management isn't clearly assigned to anyone, who's going to be responsible for driving that behavior change? And too often the answer is no one. And that's when everything's going to fall apart. And you may have PMs who are trying to help, but they might even create the confusion. They might write a message to stakeholders or customers about a change, but they're not actually trained in how to tailor messaging. So they might talk about a solution without tying it to the bigger picture. That's going to weaken the message and not leverage it to its full potential. And then it just becomes another kind of vague update in someone's inbox. And of course, traditionally, project management focuses on timeline, scope, and deliverables, definitely not readiness, adoption, or buy-in. One thing that's helped me reframe project management for myself and also for my teams is that the delivery of projects is going beyond the actual deliverables. And to think about the fact that we aren't just managing the projects, we're managing perceptions, behaviors, and trust. So this is where project managers and change managers really start to complement each other. The PM is focused on the scope, the milestones, and delivery. The CM is focused on how people are hearing, interpreting, and responding to that delivery. So when we don't connect those two functions, we have a greater risk of delivering a great solution that no one's really ready or willing to use. Okay, let's do something practical and talk about these scenarios. I hope you'll participate along with me. So you're halfway through a major initiative. Out of nowhere, an executive sends a well-meaning but confusing email to all staff announcing a new system that's not launching for another 6 weeks. The project team wasn't looped in. Now you're getting questions you're not ready to answer and trust is eroding. What would you do? A, immediately send a clarifying email from the project team to correct the confusion, explain the timeline, and assert control of the narrative. Or B, call a quick meeting with the executive and change partner to align messaging and then issue a joint update that reinforces trust and includes a clear next step for staff. So what would you all do, A or B? Yeah, I see a lot of B in the chat. Yeah, so I see it depends, sure. So yeah, choice B here would build greater alignment and repair that leadership trust without kind of adding to the confusion. So the next one, you're assigned to support a project led by a seasoned PM who's skeptical of OCM. They say, we've already built the solution, trained staff, and have a go live date. I don't see what you'd add at this point. What would you do? A, step back from the project, knowing you weren't included early enough to influence it meaningfully, offer to help with post-launch feedback collection, or B, schedule a short meeting to listen to the PM's plan, and then ask key questions about stakeholder sentiment, adoption risk, and leadership engagement, and offer to support specific activities that reduce post-launch chaos. So what would you all do, A or B? Yeah, see, oh, both, yeah. I see some Bs. Yeah, B helps you to not like step back from the situation and lean more into it from a change management perspective. All right, so I have another poll for you all. If we could go to that next. In your experience, where does the disconnect between project and change management most often happen? Is it planning and timing misalignment, conflicting priorities, lack of collaboration, leadership misunderstanding the roles, or communication falling flat? All of the above, yeah. Should have made that one of the choices. Yeah, thanks for the engagement, everybody. All the above, yeah, I like that. This is actually a good segue into the next slide. So kind of talked about the fact that projects deal in timelines, scope, budget, while change is measured in people, behavior, adoption. Yeah. So we can walk through these common disconnects between project management and change management, and more importantly, what we can do about them. I want you to all leave today not just recognizing the friction, but knowing what action you can take to start reducing it. So I saw a lot of responses about leadership. Leadership doesn't always understand the roles, right? They see change management as optional or redundant, right? And that misunderstanding will trickle down to how we get resourced and included or prioritized. It's our job to help leaders see that PM and CM are partners and not duplicates. So the planning and timing misalignment here, friction would be change management is brought in late. So after timelines, decisions, or scope are already locked. And the action then becomes involving change leads during project intake or chartering. So even if the full communications plan isn't ready or change plan isn't ready, you can flag high impact stakeholder groups or change risks early and shape a more integrated timeline from the start. Conflicting priorities or metrics. So the friction is PMs are focused on deliverables, CMs are focused on people. Different success measures lead to or could lead to tension. So the action there is to create shared success metrics. In your next kickoff, you might ask, what will success look like to both of us? And then you'd include one delivery and one adoption KPI in your status reporting. Lack of collaboration or trust. The friction is, PMs and CMs work in silos. They duplicate efforts or they avoid engagement altogether due to past experiences or unclear boundaries. So the action becomes co-creating your stakeholder engagement or comms plan. Instead of working on separate timelines or tools, build one common approach, building more trust, saving more time, and reducing the confusion for your stakeholders. Leadership misunderstanding the roles. We kind of talked about this, but friction is, at the sponsor or executive level, not understanding the difference between PM and CM or undervaluing one or both of them, right? So the action becomes educating through influence, using your status updates, your project dashboards, or executive briefings to show how both the PM and CM contribute to success. A simple line like from a delivery and adoption perspective can go a long way. And then finally, communication falling flat. The friction is messages being too vague, generic, technical, one size fits all, and then your stakeholders kind of tune out because of that, or they panic because they don't really know what's going on or they don't understand. So the action becomes tailoring the message by your audience segment, asking what does this group care most about and what do they need to know? And then letting a trusted messenger, someone internal, deliver it when possible. None of these solutions actually require a new tool or a complete restructure. They just require intention, partnership, and seeing each other not as extras, but as equals in delivering that lasting change. Now, some of you might be thinking, this sounds great, but we don't even have a change management team, or I'm the project manager, the change manager, the writer, and the messenger. I get it. In a lot of public sector organizations, there isn't a formal OCM function or dedicated resource, but that doesn't mean we can't still act with the change mindset. And you don't need a certification to ask stakeholders how they're feeling about change, tailoring messaging so it actually resonates, identify your unofficial influencers, or make space for feedback before a go live. That's your change leadership, and anyone can practice that. Whether you have a formal change team or not, you can lead change well, and I'm sure you all do. It's about your mindset, right? Not your role on the project. And when you approach projects with more empathy, people-centricness, clarity, and communication, you're already doing the work. So we'll shift gears and talk about one of the most critical stages in a project, which is the kickoff. You know that saying, start as you mean to go on. Well, how we start a project tells us a lot about how the rest will unfold. And if we don't include those change considerations up front, we create gaps that are really hard to close later. So listen for these in your kickoffs. Red flag number 1 would be no communications or stakeholder plan. So if there's no conversations happening about stakeholder engagement or communication deliverables in the kickoff, it's a sign that your people side risks are being overlooked. So no alignment on who's impacted, how we're going to reach them, or what success looks like beyond delivery. Red flag number 2 is that training is listed as your only change activity. I know we've all been here. You've probably seen this, like OCM is reduced to training session 2 weeks before go live. That's certainly not change management, right? It's a little bit of damage control there. If training's the first time someone's hearing about the change, it's already too late to get that buy-in. And red flag number 3, no sponsor communication whatsoever. That's a huge red flag, right? When there's no plan for executive or sponsor involvement in the messaging. If the only people talking about the change are the project team, you're really missing out and losing your authority and credibility there. Your stakeholders need to hear the why from someone they trust and not just the how from someone who's building it. So if you're invited to a project kickoff and you notice these signs, that's your cue. You're going to raise your hand. Even a simple question like, who's responsible for stakeholder engagement on this one? Questions that can spark important conversations on your project teams. Project failure doesn't happen all at once. It's kind of these small things that stack up. So we want to spot these red flags early and help us course correct before things like fall apart. So we'll talk a little bit about communication, not just sending emails out, but communicating in a way that builds trust and traction. In one of my former roles on building a PMO, one of the first things I did was to partner with an OCM consultant. Luckily, I had an investment in an OCM consultant, so that kind of helped. But we sat down and actually mapped out all of our communication touch points and assigned, specific stakeholder groups and audiences to those touch points. We were very intentional about not just sending updates. We wanted to actually craft a narrative and tell a story that people could follow and they could understand and then support. So a couple things that have jumped out that have worked for me in the past: messaging that's definitely top down, audience specific, and anchored in the bigger picture. And we've covered some of this. Communication that doesn't work is that more generic messaging or robotic emails that leave people feeling more confused than confident. Other strategies as it relates to communicating for change: using the trusted messengers, or what I like to call the influencers, when it comes to communicating. Who's delivering that message is just as important as what the message says. So sometimes we think that change messages need to come down from the top, and it's important to get that leadership endorsement, but it's usually the mid-level managers, supervisors, and the peer level who have the most influence on how a message is received and reinforced. So you know who those people are. They know your culture inside and out. They carry credibility, and they can translate change into like real talk, right? So suggestion to identify those unofficial influencers early and bring them into your communications process. They don't need a title or like a role on your project. They just need to know what's going on and have that voice. I won't read through all of these, but from the leadership standpoint, we want to equip leaders to be more effective messengers as well, right? So the top-down communications, and how do we better coach those folks? One of the bigger mistakes I see is that assuming because a leader has authority, they automatically know how to communicate change. And that's not true, because I've seen it myself. So what typically happens is like they say the wrong thing, right? Or worse, they delay sending out the messaging because they don't even know what to say themselves, right? So a fix for that is to get involved in the rehearsing of that messaging with them, help them kind of draft that language and give them the talking points and give them the right level of clarity. I've started doing this with my own leadership. I report into the CX team. Once we decide on if we're talking about change or approving change, then I actually start drafting the messaging for them, and then we kind of collaborate on that together before it goes out. This gives them something to react to versus keeping them stalled on getting started. So what happens when you're brought in late or when the PM you're working with doesn't yet see the value of change management? I actually have another poll for everyone. So we can go to that one next. At what point are you typically engaged in your projects? During the intake and planning, at the execution or start of rollout, close to go live or post-launch, or never officially included? What do you all think? Oh, intake and planning, good, good. Let's see what results come in here. It depends, yeah. I see a lot of good comments too. I apologize, I'm missing some of the questions, but we'll try to come back to them at the end here. Yeah. Post charter, depends. Yeah. It's pretty, I see a lot of votes like weighted during intake and planning. That's good. I see a couple never officially included. Sorry about that. Hope we can get that turned around for you. So I have 5 conversation starters on the slide, and hopefully that will help open up more collaboration. So shifting you more into a curious mindset. You know, oftentimes some of these challenges in the public sector, right, can cause some barriers to getting included. But by kind of being more curious and asking some of these questions, hopefully it can be the trigger point or the conversation starter that you need to get involved where you need to be. Remember that from the project management standpoint, PMs are under pressure, right? Like they're measured on deadlines. So we want to frame change as something that's protecting their project and not slowing it down. So you can say things like, I want to help you reduce pushback at go live, or let's avoid rework post-launch. So you're really starting to frame yourself as a partner and not a hurdle on the project. Here's what it looks like when PM and CM are in sync. Instead of siloed plans, we talked about that earlier, we have a co-created one. Instead of separate updates, we present together, and instead of duplicating effort, we share resources. And again, the great news about this is it doesn't require any new tools or investments. It just kind of requires more of a shared ownership and a mindset of collaboration. And you can start small. One communications plan, one joint kickoff, one unified report, and kind of start to build that partnership from there. And if you want some other advice on best practices, here are 7 that help bridge the gap. I'm not going to cover these in a ton of detail, but co-leading project planning, align timelines early, don't treat OCM like a phase. I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but embedding change management into the overall journey and life cycle of the project. It's got to be up front there as part of planning. Joint sponsorship alignment, unified communications plan. So making sure that tone and messaging and like voice sounds more unified across your project. Coordinated training and readiness, integrated resistance tracking, and then post-go live monitoring. Remember, and we all know this, adoption doesn't stop at launch, right? It kind of starts there. So we want to keep tracking, supporting, and adjusting even beyond that like delivery point. And you don't have to do all of these today, right? Like you pick one and run a pilot and like start building and flexing into this integration mindset. Okay, one last poll for today. How do you currently support low priority or internal change initiatives? So same full OCM toolkit, a light version, not much, and we don't formally address these types of changes. Some votes coming in. I'm sure there's so much I could learn from all of you. I wish I could like spend time with everybody and hear from everybody. Oh, light version. Okay, looks like majority vote is kind of sitting there. So yeah, I think we all agree. Like, not every project has the budget or the visibility to justify, you know, full scale change support. But those small projects are still going to cause big confusion, right, if we ignore the adoption piece. So we want to consider right-sized change. So one, yeah, exactly, David. Yeah, every project's different, right? So, you know, we could do the one-page communications plan, more quick or frequent stakeholder conversations, leveraging change buddies or change champions, people from the business who help connect the dots. But the low effort things doesn't have to mean no strategy. It just means you have to be a little bit more thoughtful and maybe a little bit more creative in those cases. Since I'm here representing the project management side of the house, I figured I would take the opportunity to speak to the change managers about how to further support the project managers you work with. So if you're working with project managers, here's what they wish you would bring to the table. I won't like read all of these through. You can see them here on the slide, and these slides will be shared out. So clear, practical input, tailored and relevant communications, fast turn tools, resistance insights, and just greater partnership in general. So I'm looking forward to hearing about the relationships you're all going to build with some of your PMs out there, and show them that you're in it with them. Start to build that partnership. So as we kind of near the end here, let's take a minute to reflect. I'd love to know in the chat, you know, I just spoke to the change managers in the room, what would you all want from the project managers that you work with? If you have any feedback, I'd love to see it in the chat, just so I kind of know that for my own awareness as well. What belief or behavior could you shift to help close the PMCM gap? I'll give you all kind of a minute to do some reflections here. Open mind, yeah, I like that. Yeah, realistic timelines. Trust, yeah, it all boils down to trust. Mutual respect, yeah. Curiosity. Yeah, these are great. These are great answers. Yeah, thank you everybody for sharing. This is great. I'm gonna save this chat and come back to it later. Value. Access to sponsors. Oh, that's a good one. I like that. So we're nearing the end here. If there's one thing I hope that you all walk away with, it's this. No one is adopting what they don't understand, right? No one's supporting something that they didn't help shape, and no one's sustaining what they don't feel was built for them. And this is not like a change management philosophy or anything. This is more just a human philosophy and just human nature in general. So thank you all for showing up for this conversation. I truly believe PMs and CMs are stronger together, and that our biggest impact comes when we deliver and adopt well. So have a QR code here. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or reach out after today. If you couldn't tell, this is my passion. I love talking shop, especially with fellow change makers. So thank you, Jamie. Do we want to catch questions if there are any in the chat?
Yeah, and then Susan has her hand raised first, but let's hit the one question that's in the comments already. So if you can comment on the journey from certification without experience to becoming fully proficient, not just repeating what's in the certification material.
I wonder if that question is related to the change management side of the house or project management side. So full disclosure, I do not have a change management certification. I come up through the project management world, live and breathe that. But I will say that the farther I've gotten along in my career and the more projects I've worked on, and have gotten under my belt, the more I've realized how important the change management piece is on projects and how often it's just simply left out or not considered altogether. So, I mean, for me personally, that realization just came from the experience. And I've also been partnered with some pretty great OCM folks who've taught me a thing or two. And I'm as I'm moving along in my career, I'm considering getting more certified in change management at this point, because I'm that's actually where it's at, right? In the PMO role, I feel like I do most of my job is influencing and negotiating and the people side of things now, and that's way more on the change side of the house, right, than technical project management. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of where it's been for me.
Thank you. And then we did have one hand raised, but I'm not sure if it's still raised. Susan, did you have a question?
No, that was a mistake, but I want to thank you so much. This has been very interesting. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Yeah, and a lot of great comments in the chat. People think that they need to do a monthly support call with you.
Yes, please.
All right, and Amber has a question.
Hi, thank you for this. It was really fascinating. I actually am working for an organization right now that is building a CMO and a PMO, which is very exciting.
A CMO and a PMO?
Yeah. So
I love that.
Simultaneously. And one of the things that I think we've run into is that both leadership and PMs seem to think that change management is really just there to run all communications and training. And as I'm sure you know, and I'm a project manager or was a project manager as well, that's not necessarily what we do, right? We don't have the expertise to do a lot of that. And so I'm wondering how you navigated that from the project side, because I see a lot of what you're talking about is more stakeholder engagement, which I love, and I'm definitely using some of your slides, but do you have any other thoughts on that?
So I've never had the luxury of having a CMO. That sounds amazing to me, and we can talk later about that. Where does your communications group sit? Does it sit in one of those two, or somewhere else within the organization? Curious.
They're somewhere else too.
They're somewhere else.
Comms as well. We've got a fun group happening here.
So I have been successful in building that partnership with the communications folks. In my last role, we don't have strong comms in my current agency, but in my last agency, I had the luxury of sitting right next to our comms director. Our offices were right next to each other. So I was able to kind of use that and leverage it into building that relationship with her. And then together I brought her into the fold to say, hey, I'm forming a new department. I want to get your thoughts on how we shape this and communicate this. I need your help. she kind of had the exposure at the top levels of the agency. Like she worked directly with the commissioner of that agency. You know, I let her know like, hey, I've got OCM investment consultant help with organizational change management, but like really need to rely on you for the communications piece of it, and just kind of built that bridge, right? Like I'm a bridge builder, so that's like how I approach that, and that's how I would have navigated that situation. I don't know if that helps, but
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of good comments. Brooke says that the last slide where no one adopts what they don't understand, like that slide is now her computer background.
Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, I know Brooke.
Oh, perfect. And then it looks like Masa has a question. She said, what is the best way to communicate and educate organizations that are very new to both project and change management? Not to overwhelm them, but to provide value.
That's a great question. If others want to weigh in on this on the chat, I would love to hear what other people have to say. You know, they're both such heavy, like they can be heavy topics. Like my gut was like, oh, don't introduce them together, right? Like, I mean, you almost have to start foundationally with both of them, and then maybe bring them together at some point. I almost feel like if you try to do it all together, it will get lost. But yeah, I mean, there's so many topics, right? Like maybe kind of building that outline for what you want the outcomes of each to be, and then figuring out like what that roadmap for training looks like for folks.
Yeah, Kristen piped in. She said, use visual management, focusing on something approachable.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth
Yeah,
said, how about asking them how they know their technology investments are providing returns?
Oh, like start with a question to them, and then maybe like back into it from there. That's cool. I like that.
David said he would focus on their relationship to each other during the training, whichever one you start with, OCM or project management. Elizabeth also said, stir up inspirational discontent.
Oh, that's good.
Love it. Well, we still have Kelly for a few more minutes. Does anybody have any other questions or comments for Kelly? Okay. Yeah, a ton of great comments in the chat. There's a lot of good conversation. It looks like everyone really appreciated this topic. So a lot of I can see some heads nodding and lots of comments. So very exciting. So
thank you again for letting me be here. Yeah, this was great. A lot of fun.
Perfect. Okay, before you guys go, I just have a couple more things. So for those of you that are interested in getting your PMI PDUs, I'm going to throw a link in the chat. Just fill out that form. That'll give us everything that we need to report to PMI for everyone. So again, let me pin that in the chat for everyone. All right. Again, thank you so much, Kelly. So big round of applause to Kelly. She is amazing. We appreciate you taking the time and to share some of your insights. This was such a great topic, and lots of good response in the comments as well. Certainly something worth saving. All right, and then just a reminder to connect with us on social media. We do have a Blue Sky social media account. So here's our QR code for those of you that are interested. We also have the PSCP website. So many of you are asking, do you guys have access to the slides? They will be posted on the website as well as the recording. So go there. So we'll probably have that done in the next week or so. We typically get those up. So those will all be there. We're also on LinkedIn. So this is where we post all of our information in terms of upcoming webinars, book clubs, newsletters, other important information. So connect with us there. And then our next presenter will be August 13th at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So Candace will go over some, I don't think we quite have a topic. It'll be change management related. So we look forward to seeing you guys all there. And that is all we have for you today. Thanks again for joining us at PSCP. We look forward to the next one.